Hello everybody and welcome to the Bohlin Svenska here in the Indy series. It's time for rounds 3 and 4 here at Silverstone. The Prix Esports Arena Grand Prix brought to you here live on Racebot TV on Thursday evening as always. Myself, Ian O'Leary and Cam Roger with you for the remainder of the season. And after a chaotic start, I think it's fair to say at Barber Motorsports Park, we're going to get something a little bit different here today. It's the Silverstone circuit, a circuit which Indy cars don't go racing around very often, but I personally think they will suit this track rather well.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one. Of course, we started with a very much American-style racetrack, and we go to another one next time out as well. But here is something a little bit different, and I'm very interested to see, obviously, how this calendar was put together, because it is so different. Of course, we do have the 4 races over in America, but then we have the couple in Europe, and then one down in South America at Interlagos as well. So, Ewan, I think it's very interesting, something a bit different, and hopefully these tracks give us some great rounds of racing.
Yeah, it's the road series half of things, and we'll be running right to the middle of December every couple of weeks, intermittent with the oval series, of course, which you can also catch here on Racespot TV. We have already had a couple of races, as that suggests, at Barber Motorsports Park a couple of weeks ago, where Edwin Forsand and Henrik Lindhoff both took race victories. They're first and fifth, though, in the driver's standings at the moment. Oscar Fredriksson is in second instead, with Melvin Akesson in third, and just 1 point ahead of Lindhoff, who won one of those races. Niklas Helm is in fourth. Bit of a jump back to sixth with Ivan Lenholm. Cedric Holmbaum is in seventh place with Oliver Hagström in eighth. Then Albin Manson and Jonas Soberg to round out the top 10. And in the team standings, it's pretty interesting actually. Shared race wins among the two of the SimRace Sweden teams. The Pro and the Academy teams tied at the top of those, in case you're interested, after only a couple of rounds. That isn't going to matter too much. And as I was saying to Dara a couple of weeks ago as well here, Cam, this series doesn't really get you to relax very much, get you settled into the series very much, because, like I say, we've got a very varied schedule. We've got the tight and twisty Barber first. Now we're here at a more open Grand Prix circuit, but we're on the streets of Detroit in 2 weeks, on an oval 2 weeks after that, and then finally you get into the real run to the end of the season. There's real variety, though, in this first half.
Absolutely, and only with 7 rounds as well, one of them being a single race. So when we go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the oval race at the mid part of the season, that's only one single race today, and at the other road courses we will have 2 races. So realistically, there's only actually 13 races, so the season will count down very quickly, so the drivers will need to be making sure they get the points on the table as early as they can, because you never know how the races are going to be going a little bit later. And of course, Ewan, as ever, we do have potential for the safety car to come out. We've got, sort of a shorter race and no pit stop, than a longer race with a pit stop. So there's a lot of factors that come into this series.
There certainly is. We didn't see most of those coming into play last time out, but you never know what could happen this time around. Currently in the qualifying session, Ivan Lenholm has got the fastest time ahead of Jesper Eriksson, then Alexander Olsen, who is in third. It's a little bit of a mixed-up field, to be honest, compared to what we've seen previously. Edwin Forsand has not set a time yet. That's why he's not up there. As you can see, Jesper Eriksson's preparing himself for another lap here. And in fact, most drivers are preparing themselves for another lap here, rather than going quickly on a second lap in a row. Maybe says more about this car than the circuit itself. But there is less time around this circuit than what you would get at Barber Motorsports Park, where the lap time is barely a minute long. This is a proper Grand Prix circuit. You were speaking to me before the broadcast about whether you feel comfortable about seeing Indy cars in Great Britain. I think they'll suit this circuit very well. I get what you mean about them looking a little bit weird, out of place, but I think that these cars they drive pretty similar to F1 cars in the style of racing. I think that you can get, maybe not the F1 cars in iRacing, but in any case, I think they'll go well round here, and the sort of more wide open Grand Prix circuits actually suit Indy cars well, even though they don't race around them very often.
Yeah, I was just meaning that because a lot of the road courses and the street courses as well that you get in America, they're very much drivers' tracks, as you would have seen in a couple of weeks ago at Barber. You really have to drive the car, you have to work the wheel, whereas Grand Prix tracks, they're generally a bit more smooth, they're a bit more longer apex corners. You have to sort of keep the car planted for a little bit longer. You don't necessarily have to wrestle the car around the corner. So especially this track as well, it's so flowing. There's only really 4 actual braking zones on the track. It's very much momentum based, something a bit different for this style of car, but I'm certainly excited to see how we're going to go with that. So we're right on board with Jesper Eriksson through this qualifying session. The lap looks very pretty decent so far through the very fast Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel sequence of corners down to 4th gear, 3rd for a moment in time before getting back onto the power. Yeah, certainly a very fast car. It's basically about the same times as Formula 2 do around here.
Good reference point to have. 39.2 currently the best lap time from Ivan Lindholm in towards Stowe corner for Ericsson. Just feels sometimes when you're riding on board with the Indy cars, if the rear end could just slip away at any moment. Thankfully it hasn't for Ericsson on this lap. Down the gears into second for the chicane, and getting on the power here always a very tricky one with the sausage curb on the left hand side and the fact you're turning the whole way through. Over the line for Ericsson, and it looks like it may be enough. It is 39.0 from Jesper Ericsson. He goes to the front, but Fredriksson moves up to the front row with him. This is going to be one of those sessions where things change very quickly, because he's Ivan Lindholm looking to respond.
And Lindhoff as well jumped up momentarily to second place, and then down to fourth after the improvements of the 112 and the 37 car. But here is Lindholm as he tries to continue his way up the field. So close actually between those top few drivers. Lindhoff only a couple of thousandths behind. What can Lindholm do out of the final corner? Pretty decent long run up towards the line as well. Looks like he's going to be staying in that third place though.
Looks like it. Maybe setting up again to go for another one. Didn't look too smart through Stowe, unfortunately. He was up on the inside curve, really, and it's not a place you really want to be. That's quite wide through turn 3. And already Lindholm is seeing some trouble here, I'm afraid, and slides his way out of turn 4. He knows that lap is toast, and so is rear tyres, I'd imagine. So he returns to pit lane. Melvin Ackerson in 10th place at the moment, 1.3 seconds behind. I mean, I know this is a long circuit, and not an easy one either, but I must admit to being a bit surprised about the time gaps and only having 7 within 1 second in the few minutes of this qualifying session.
I guess it just shows, because most of these drivers, of course, do the oval series as well, and that's, I guess, you would argue potentially their main focus. I guess that just shows the difference in driving styles and being comfortable in a car like this around a big Grand Prix track. It's definitely a completely different style to what we saw, of course, in the previous week. In the oval series, so definitely something different, and the drivers have to flip-flop between the cars every week as well. So you go from the stock car back here to the open wheel car. It's completely different, and yeah, maybe some drivers just struggling to get completely up to speed, but hopefully the mid-pack is still very good as we come across the line to 37.9, so just 7/10 off. That's a bit more of an improvement up to 7th place, and of course remember we do get the top 20 reversed from the result of race 1 is your grid for race 2, so a lot of opportunities even for drivers who might be slightly off the pace.
Yeah, some interesting things to note about the Barber race that I'll put to you just before race 2 a little bit later on, because I wonder just how much of what we saw last week was down to Barber, or how much is down to just the way this car drives and the way that the drivers interact with each other over the course of this Indy series. We'll wait and see. Edwin Forsen through Stowe corner. He, of course, was right up there in Barber. 2 top 5s, 1 win, and unfortunately he's outside of the top 10 at the moment, and that's not going to help. A spin into the club chicane right at the very end of the lap, and I'm afraid that's the end of his qualifying session. In fact, I think everybody who can improve here is in pit lane as things stand in the top, as far as the top 10 is concerned. Anyway, Cedric Holmbom seems to be going quickly at the moment, and here he is in the number 10 over the line, currently 18th place. Where does he get up to? He does improve, but it is only 13th for him, and so the checker flag comes out, and shortly we'll have the grid for you ready for the Bright Esports Arena Grand Prix here from Silverstone. First race coming up, no tyre change required, but 15 laps ahead for Jesper Ericsson to take them to the green flag. Oscar Fredriksson alongside with Ivan Lindholm and Henrik Lindhoff, a race winner 1 week or 2 weeks ago, in 4th. Mikael Sundström and Alexander Olsen will share row 3, and then the final drivers within a second of pole here on the next couple of rows. Melvin Ackerson and Robert Osland first of all, followed by Oliver Hagström and Daniel Holmer rounding out the top 10. Edwin Forsland over a second behind for the championship leader with Jörg Frist alongside him. 13th place, Cedric Holmbom we saw with that late improvement alongside Peter Helmbro. It's Matthias Strauss and Jesper Oman who are on row 8. Tony Uvinen and Philip Hahn are on row 9. Running out the top 20 is Nicholas Helm, who by the way is 4th in the championship, and Robert Eriksson as well. Jonas Sjöberg is in 21st ahead of Hakan Schott, with Anders Carlson and Oscar Motin in the 12th row. 25th position will be Linus Hellberg, followed by Bjorn Broström. Christopher Dahlstrand is 27th ahead of Kalle Wallenstjärn. It's Samuel Josensu in 29th ahead of Dan Segerlösen. And outside of the top 30, two relatively late joiners, actually Kasper Björk and Marcus Stiller at the back of the field. Most of these guys were here, of course, 2 weeks ago and are in the field. Again, we had 32 starting last week. They're not the same 32. We will have a couple of different ones. However, they're most of the same 32. SimRace Sweden all over the front of this qualifying session, as we're accustomed to seeing, though, Cam, and Jesper Eriksson is going to look to take control of this race from the very beginning and bring it all the way home, I feel. Wasn't here at the Barber Motorsport Park round, and he's got some work to do as a result.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same regarding the SimRace Sweden cars. So there's the event format, bottom right. So first race, 15 laps, no tyre change required. But the race 2, where we get the top 20 reversed from the result of this race 1. We then go for a slightly longer race, but they must change tyres. So pit stop required. Hopefully we don't get the drive-through race incidents with the short length of laps. But Ewan, I'm looking forward to this one. As you say, SimRace Sweden just dominating the front of this field.
As shown by the Teams Championship, the top 3 places taken up by their 2 pro teams and even their academy team as well. It's very much SimRace Sweden's to lose as we start this new season, but how will that change here at the Prix Esports Arena Grand Prix? Silverstone ready for Bohlin's Svenska Eracingligan Indy Series action here this afternoon, and over the line goes Jesper Eriksson about as early as he possibly could. Hit the throttle, he does, and takes an early lead ahead of his teammates in towards turn 1. It's Ivan Lennholm who's got up into second place ahead of Oscar Fredriksson into the first corners and then defends as well. Henrik Lindhoff will for sure be trying to make up some places as well here from 4th position, and he does go side by side with his teammate through turn 4. He'll get to the inside and into Aintree. Fredriksson loses a couple of places, I'm afraid, here as Lindhoff gets to the inside. Looks like he is through, and indeed he is into 3rd place.
And look at Sundström down the inside from 5th place. Can he get himself up into 4th? They go side by side in towards Brooklands. Now Luffield is going to be a long run around the outside. How much grip do these Indy cars have? We're about to find out. Potentially not enough. With side by side in the background as well as Olsen and Usland go side by side as they come through Woodcote.
Olsen looks like he has that with the inside through Woodcote, but you never know. In towards Cops Corner they go. Round the outside for Osland, that would be impressive. He can't quite do it though. Arkesen's waiting behind. A little bit of hesitation from him, and he's going to be under attack as well. This is a really tight group going in towards Maggots and Beckett's, and surely already the drivers are going to be on the button, pushing already to try and get ahead of the other. But let's see what happens here on the Hanger Straight. There's going to be all manner of defending down here from Olsen again, who's under attack.
Yeah, this is important battles. Try and get some track position in the early parts of the race around the outside of Stowe. That is a risky move. Can he make it work? We'll have to find out as he comes down the hill now in towards Vale. Look at all the cars going 2 by 2, and someone is dropping back there. Sundström has lost out plenty of positions, not being able to fight with these cars. Olsen gets up now. Orkerson gets through.
Someone's used someone else as a ramp back there. Someone was way up into the air, I'm afraid, and into the gravel. Going into the final chicane. We'll have a look at that again in a few moments' time, but the battle for 6th place continues. Osland still holds it, or now holds it, I should say. Arkesen's through as well here, as Oliver Hagström, as well as Evan Forsland as well, who's made up a couple of places on this opening lap. That was dramatic in the background, though I'm afraid we've got 5 stoppers at the end of the opening lap.
Yeah, we didn't see too much carnage on camera. It must have been a bit further back. And well, of course, with 32 cars on the grid, some things can happen. Let's see how this has happened. So we've got Matthias Strauss in the 28 machine coming down in towards the chicane. And yeah, he's just been absolutely pile-drived in behind it. Oh, further cars coming and flying over the back of them. 3 involved in just that one contact, and bits of carbon fibre all over the place.
Strauss came to pit lane with Nicholas Helm, Tony Juvonen and Jesper Ullman. Samuel Josensu also came in about a minute before that, so he wasn't involved in that crash, but he was earlier on in the day. That was quite spectacular, although not the least we've seen this season, I think it's fair to say, in terms of crashes. Jesper Eriksson still leads, though, ahead of Ivan Lennholm. They've got a second over Henrik Lindhoff, and then he's got a second over Oscar Fredriksson. It's side by side further back there. The midfield is where the action is. I'm afraid it's slightly too exciting for Daniel Homer, who goes too wide through Maggots and Beckett's, and now he's going to be overtaken by not only Oscar Moten, who's just gotten through on him, but Hacken Schott as well, who's going to find this pass pretty easy.
Yeah, just got completely offline there coming through Beckett's, and that is not the one that you want to do because it is a very one-line corner. Everyone stays really close. That's where the groove is. If you go wide, you just cannot get back on the power. Have to slow right down. It's a very tight corner, actually. We've got drivers coming into the pit lane already. Issues being had. That's Peter Helmborough in the 77 car.
Yeah, Peter Helmborough, I'm afraid, having to take a trip down pit lane. You wouldn't have thought it's 15 incidents already, but you never know. I suppose it's only 4 crashes, but still, that is 4 crashes. In towards turn 4 for Sundström, who's looking to regain some of those places lost on the opening couple of laps, and he's taking it out on Hornbaum, who's made up a few places on the opening lap and now loses one of those. So Sundström back into 9th place and looking to regain his footing, really, after a pretty poor opening lap that saw him under attack and losing quite a lot of positions after looking at 4th at his height.
Yeah, he was looking very nice in the first half of the first lap. Then he just went backwards. He did gain a lot of time at one point on that straight down towards Brooklyn. So I wonder if there's just some, as you say, push to pass maybe being used, something like that, compared to drivers around, and then just dropping back a bit further. We'll have to see how that one continues. Here's the 55 Helm coming down. Is this the car that went absolutely flying? He's looking okay for now. Then wheel-to-wheel contact sent up in the air, and unfortunately, that is basically race done.
Actually came into pit lane the normal way, but well, not the normal way, sorry, but he did use the entrance. He didn't escape, which is slightly odd. He's still in there, unfortunately, with Strauss and Yosinsu as well. Although we have already seen Uvenen and Oman make it back out again, so there is hope for those just yet. Through Stowe corner now for the following group. This is a little bit further outside the top 10. At the front of this group is Mikael Sundström still in 9th place, although you'd hope that he's getting away from this now. Cedric Holmbohm will be the one defending here. Oliver Hagström in 11th place is the one closest to making an overtake, I think you'd say, with the sort of gold front wing, if you like. Gold effect to his front wing, just in behind one of the SimRace Sweden cars, down in towards turn number 3. But now I think we're going to just settle into the race. I don't think it's going to be quite as follow the leader as what we saw at Barber, which is a lot more of a single file circuit than this one is. However, we are hopefully going to be see a bit of a settling in after the carnage of the opening lap.
Absolutely, and of course, remember, this is just the first race of the day. Another one coming your way. Sundström going to be having a look down the inside once more on the number 10 of Holmbohm. Looks like he's going to be able to make that one work, and has done absolutely. So, sorry, that's Hagström, I should say, getting back through. So very nicely for him. The 2 teammates getting through on the number 10 machine, who is obviously working his way nicely. And remember, top 20 being reversed. These are still some decent positions, but you never want to sacrifice points in this race for a better starting position in race 2. You got to get the points on the board and keep your tally going up.
Yep, certainly do. In towards Maggots and Beckett's again for these guys. Already, by the way, Stroon nearly 10 seconds off of the race lead. Hagström is going very quickly on this lap, though. Clearly does have the speed, as underlined by the fact that he passes Cedric Holmbohm on this lap and looks to retain that place as well on the way towards Stowe corner. So just 6 steps of a second is all that Ericsson hold, but just because of his pedigree, not only in this series, because of last season's race victories and the eventual championship position as well, a series that he maybe could have won on another day, he somewhat looks comfortable, even with just 7 tenths of margin over even Lindholm.
Yeah, not too big of a gap, but enough where he's not really under pressure so much. And of course, Ericsson, who won the Formula 4 series that we had this time last year, then came second in the championship in the second series of that we ran at the beginning of 2024. So he's definitely very comfortable in these road course races, and especially with some teammates behind, I think that helps quite a lot, knowing that they're not going to do anything really silly in behind.
Yeah, it's 2 of the best drivers as far as last season's road course standings go. Jesper Ericsson and Ivan Lindholm finishing 2nd and 3rd. In fact, the only of the top 5 who's not here is the champion, Marcus Byfeldt, who's not been here in the opening 2 rounds, as far as I can remember. Anyway, he wasn't here last time, and he's not here today, so I can only assume that he won't be here for this one. So effectively, Ericsson's the best performing of last season to be here, but already playing catch-up. Lindholm certainly isn't, although it was only 6th place overall in the standings because of a crash in the reverse grid race. Here he is, just 3 tenths behind though, getting closer. I mean, they are teammates, but surely they are going to fight for this. If Lindholm gets the chance, that is, surely he's going to give this a go.
I don't see any reason why not. Look how close he is. And from memory, last year in the F4s as well, he was very feisty indeed. And that's how you say is he got to third place in the championship. So doing a very good job on these road course races. And as he works his way through, of course, lap 6 to 15, he's looking very nice. And surely there's going to be a move at some point. We come back a bit further. This P20, this is important. Reverse grid pole position coming in towards the final club chicane. All sorts of cars going and diving late in there, but it looks like he's holding on just for now.
Yeah, this at the moment is the battle for 19th place technically. Kalle Wellingström is holding that. Casper Björk currently on reverse grid pole, which, as you say, is very, very important. Marcus Stiller wants to take that off him at the moment. By the way, if you weren't with us a couple of weeks ago at Barber, we saw so many incidents in the first race that there are actually only 20 who hasn't visited the pit lane. And look at this, it's still carnage back here. A big slide, I'm afraid, for Marcus Stiller, who was trying to take that 20th away. Well, he's made that a whole lot more difficult now, as even Christopher Dahlstrand has gotten through on him after that slide through turn 3.
And this could be important for Stiller after starting the back of the grid. That was a potential to get in the reverse places. Let's see how this one worked. He was kind of on his own, and I wonder if there was just... I would like to see from Bohlin. Let's see this, because I want to see, is there any sort of issues with the car ahead? Maybe a bit of, I don't know, dirty air coming across the wing. It's a very, very weird one, because there was still plenty of room and he didn't really have to take evasive action, but the car just went.
Yeah, I think what happened was, with the concertina effect happening ahead of him and those slowing down, he just lifted off for a second, and as he got back on the throttle again, you're not in throttle modulation mode anymore out of turn 3. You're actually in let's just go again now mode, and maybe that's what happened. It's difficult to explain, or indeed I might just be talking rubbish anyway, so don't know, but it's unfortunate because he's dropped him to 24th place, still behind Dahlstrand. The battle for 19th not exactly going away, and this is pretty worrying for Wellingström now, because he'll be thinking, if one goes through, how many more are going to go through? With him in 19th place, he can only really afford to let one person through, but realistically that's probably not possible.
They are trading up by 3 wide potentially. No, not quite, as they come up towards turn 1. Definitely the smarter choice there to back out of that one. A very tight first and second corner here in this side. That's a new section, not very new, to huge dive though up the inside. Wellington trying to hold on, but are we going to see an outside move at the loop? Don't always see that. Side by side we go as we then come out onto the back straight.
Let's see who can get the best out of this one. It's Linus Hellberg who's been dragged into this, and it could be 3 wide here on the Wellington straight. They decide again to not do that, probably for the best really. Right round the outside for Wellington, who's trying to shore up his top 20 position. Round the outside through Brooklands for Hellberg. He's trying to shore up his top 20 position as well, but it's Wellington who holds on this time round. Sjöberg is right behind too, and he's still watching this side-by-side battle. It continues towards Kops.
And just realised the 3 car has the black hard tyres on as well, but he's keeping them alive and he's making them work 4 wide almost. We're looking up towards Magnus Beckes and Chapel. We're still seeing Hellberg hold on to that 20th position, but they are chasing him down in behind. What a battle we're seeing here for this reverse grid pole. Could be so important for them and for the points that they could gain from this, because they could even keep it, top 10 place with a solid pace in race 2.
This is quite extraordinary, this battle now, and it's going to drag even more into the fray. As I mentioned, only 20 survived out the pit lane at Barber, so this wasn't really possible. But at Silverstone, we've got plenty more still on the racetrack. Here comes Sjöberg. Is he going to have a look down the inside? Hellberg breaks late. Oh, that was close to contact. Hellberg just about hangs on. Sjöberg knows that if he went any deeper there, he would have been straight into the side of his rival, and thankfully they avoid contact. It looks like, though, we might be seeing Wellington getting away in 18th place.
Yeah, this is definitely Hellberg going to be dropping back one by one. Just depends how many people are able to get past him, at least from the look of it just now. But for him, of course, we'll be hoping that he can hold on in that 404 machine. Out onto the back straight once more they go. A bit of a tighter line, actually. But, of course, they'll be on the button trying to make something work as we come down this straight. Quite a long one to get the slipstream into the inside. It is going to be Sjöberg, and he should be able to hold on to this by the time we get to the inside line. Long left-handed corner, and he's made his way past.
That was pretty easy looking compared to some of the other battles we've seen in this group. On board we go with Björk, who would have liked to take advantage of that overtake. I think he would have seen it coming, but he would have liked to have taken advantage of it, but he wasn't able to. Now to the outside again. It is going to be Hellberg on the outside, and Sjöberg on the inside, who hangs on, and you'd expect that, to be honest. Hellberg just hangs back again, maybe goes for it into Magnus, and Beckett decides against that as well. Again, probably for the best as they go into the higher speed corners on this circuit. He's got it slightly wrong. Oh, he's got it really wrong. Through in the 20th position, the all-important 20th plate, and Bjork will go through. That was handed to him really on a plate, and Hellberg is going to be very displeased with himself there.
Yeah, just proof of how important the racing line is in this form of circuit racing. You've got to keep the car in the best possible groove, and unfortunately just lost the line and ended up being way too wide in the third apex. Huge send though down the inside from Hellberg, trying to get that back in the 404 machine way too late. Might lose another place here. Bjork has gone, and unfortunately that's going to be more positions lost for the car who was once up in 18th place. Now it's Karlskoga who's got through as well.
Yeah, Anders Carlson through, queuing up behind is Dahlstrand and Stiller again here, and it looked like a bit of his front wing was coming off there for Hellberg, but maybe it stayed on. Looks like he's okay. It was very aggressive. You can see how much 20th place does mean to these drivers, and you can see why with the reverse grid, of course, but even so, this is really fierce battling. Only now Carlson has let those guys get ahead, so the three who are now inside the top 20 are getting away from Carlson, who doesn't have the speed. Hellberg wants to rectify that. He'll try and go down the inside, but he can't do it, and now that gap is all of a sudden going to be a real problem because there's only 7 laps to go.
Absolutely. I think there's going to be a bit too much for them to overcome unless they've got some good pace, but they are battling a little bit too much. Sometimes, you have to wait a little bit, but the issue is they got the two teammates coming up in behind of Dahlstrand and Stiller. So let's see how this one works. Coming through, Cops, they're all off the track. Not a single tyre is on the tarmac at that point of the racetrack as Hellberg continues to try and get this position back, but Bjork is doing, Carlson is doing such a good job to hold on at the moment. Look at the line there, the complete line difference. Hellberg definitely being a little bit more cautious as he tried to hold on and not go wide this time.
Yeah, and the teammates look like they're going to swap in the background, by the way. Still no, not down the inside of Dahlstrand. Thought they were going to change that on the way into Stowe corner. Dahlstrand goes very wide in any case. Misses the apex slightly. Does that allow Stiller anywhere near 23rd position for now? No chance on the way into the final chicane. Still, by the way, 28 running. We've had 4 retirements now from this race. Jesper Ohman back in again, I'm afraid, after the trials and tribulations of this race. Helm, Strauss and Jossen Su all still getting repairs as well. Tony Juven and Peter Helmborough have both made their way back out onto the circuit again after their problems so far in this race, which is a good thing, of course, but they'll be starting at the back likely for race 2. I can only imagine. Oh dear, big slide, I'm afraid, at the front of the group from Anders Carlson, and he will go promptly to the back, but the gap he's created might be enough for the 20 now to be reversed.
So it definitely seems like the rear end has been a problem for a couple of drivers, and I think and this might also be down to some of the time gaps we saw a little bit in the qualifying session. More drivers off the road there coming through left field, because you really have to have the confidence to get on the power and sort of use the ability of the car. But let's see what Hagström can do here. Coming down the back straight, big overspeed to the left-hand side. He's going to go. Melvin Aukson on the inside. They go side by side in towards a very fast corner. A bit of a wiggle though, unfortunately, but he's able to hold it around the outside from Hagström, have the speed on the exit as well, despite that moments during the apex of the corner. And as he gets to the apex there, down in towards the club chicane, he has that one sorted.
Very good pass. Sarkisson is going to get the run. It's not quite ideal into the final corner, really, and the first couple are not particularly brilliant for overtaking either. It's going to have to be down on the brakes at turn 3, you would expect, if there's going to be a big move here from Sarkisson to regain this place. Oh, he looks like, oh, there's contact. He's definitely made contact with Hagström there, I'm afraid. He's slightly misjudged the front end of his car, I'm afraid, and that has resulted in contact. They've miraculously both got away without damage, but Sarkisson has run away slightly against the rules, I would say, with 9th place.
There is damage to that car. That car, to me, looks like it's crabbing as if it's on a short oval configuration from the look of it, to me anyway. So I think he might be struggling. But let's see this once again. So we're going to come through the very fast turn 1 and 2, and there's still a closing of the gap from the SimRace Sweden car. As we get down towards the braking zone, there's just a little bit of overlap. He didn't quite commit enough to the right-hand side, and unfortunately, there was enough to make contact.
Wonder if Hagström broke slightly earlier than Sarkisson was expecting, but it wasn't exactly like he was braking early. Let's see this from onboard. He's definitely braking before Sarkisson, I think. It's just a bit of a misjudgment there for me. Oh, meanwhile, change for the lead, or nearly. Lennholm, to the outside. Doesn't quite go for it, but look at this for the lead of the race. Outside line into the final chicane. You said they would battle the teammates, and they are. Going on to lap 12.
They certainly are as it gloves off here. I guess they've got the win sorted for the team. Now it's down to who is going to get that win as we come on to the next lap, lap 12 of 15. 4 laps remaining, including this one. Plenty of time, 20 odd kilometers for these guys to have the battle. And it looks like Eracingligan is not going to have this one easy. So Lennholm has got to find a way to get through. He was doing a good job at the back half of that last lap. So going offline a little bit, trying to get Eracingligan to slow down, but he's done a really good sector 1 here and pulled away.
I said that Hagström and Atkinson got away without damage. I'm afraid that might not be 100% true. Hagström's in the pit lane now, and unless that's for incident points or for something else in between, I'm not sure what he is in lane for. He's stopping, so it's not for incident points. He is having to get damage repaired, I'm afraid. It would be really harsh if that tiny bit of contact did his rear right suspension, but I'm afraid that's what it's looking like he might have done.
Yeah, obviously it's one of those things. I mean, there were, there probably maybe wasn't actually some contact, just a bit of internet not really helping them there, but you have to take that into consideration sometimes, and he just didn't leave enough space, Atkinson, to the inside there, unfortunately. Now it's come down this back straight. This is the battle that we saw earlier, the 3 cars fighting to get inside the top 20. They've got that one covered now, and Bjork is all over the back of this battle that we're seeing, of course, for 17th and 18th place. Wallingstorm in that 3 machine, he got himself inside the top 20, now trying to get a bit higher.
Steady, Bjork there having to save a bit of a slide on the way out of Brooklands, and just up in front for 17th place. Surberg and Wallingstorm nearly get side by side into Cops. What that has done, by the way, is it briefly reignited a battle for 20th place between Linus Hellberg and Christopher Dahlstrand, but it looks like Hellberg has seen Dahlstrand off now and might well hang on for the next, as long as he continues on for the next 2.5 laps or so, 3 laps, then he will be okay to start on pole for race 2. Down in towards Stoke Corner now for the battle for 18th place. Here comes Bjork. It's going to have to be outside line. He's going to have to brake late, probably no. Can't quite go around the outside and has to stay behind indeed into Stowe Corner. This is going to be a pretty energised battle right to the end. It's what we get from these battles further down the order. They don't seem to care quite so much as those who are at the front of the field.
Yeah, you sort of find a couple of drivers who are similar pace to you, and then you just go and have at it for each other. Wallingstorm made up 10 places. Bjorkenberg made up 12, so they are doing good. They've got themselves into that reverse grid from some unfortunate qualifying position, but seemingly like they do have some decent pace, able to move forward, of course. So that is a bit too deep there from the 3 car, and he's going to be losing out. Actually, not quite. He's able to hold up the inside. I thought Bjork was just going to get past, pushes him out wide. We've seen moves like that before around this track from other drivers, but the 3 is going to continue on and try and hold on to that 18th place.
I don't think he's going to hold it for very long here. Surely Wallingstorm's going to be under attack again now, on the way in towards... what's the name of that corner? I've forgotten already. Brooklands, thank you. Goodness me, what's happened to me?
You've never been to this track before, you, and I understand you'll learn them soon.
Goodness me, it's only our country's most famous racetrack. Anyway, Wallingstorm holds on ahead of Bjork. That was fairly simple in the end. Dear oh dear. 2 laps to go at the end of this one, by the way, and it looks like Ericsson has just got that little bit of breathing space. We have seen the only real battle interaction between Ericsson and Lennholm. It came a few laps ago, and ever since then Lennholm has been in a bit of a descending spiral, and I'm afraid the more tenths of a second he loses, the less likely a pass gets, but he closes in again a little bit through the first sector. It's hanging in the balance, really. It's probably not going to happen on this lap. Might be a last lap pass if we get one at all.
I guess it's something that we'll learn through the season, but I'm interested with how the tyres are going to work over these races. Of course, they're sort of 20-25 minutes for this race, depending on exactly on the length of the lap. So it's a decent amount of time. Some drivers have gone with the primaries, some have gone with the reds, and the balance between that, of course, just has some difference with where the tyre pace is going to be later on in the race, and that's the point that we are getting to now. As we're on board with Kasper Bjork in the 129 machine, trying to find his way through on Wallingstorm, but not quite able to find the move just yet. That's a bit of a missed apex, though, but I think the 3 car should be okay.
Yeah, will be. Oh, get the extra power on here, Bjork. You see him fighting the steering wheel as soon as he did. The extra power through the rear wheels, not ideal for control. on the way towards Brooklands, which I know the caught the name of now. He just forces a bit of a mistake there from wanting some Bjork does, but can't take advantage of it. Looks for a wide arcing exit into the next corner. And Bjork needing a good run out of here. Don't forget that drivers don't really hit the brakes and come to a properly slow speed right the way from Luffield all the way round to the final chicane, really. It's a pretty high-speed circuit with lots of high-speed corners, so that exit is pretty important, although Bjork is nowhere near close enough for anything at the moment. Final lap has been crossed by Jesper Eriksson, by the way. There's his margin. He's just got one more lap of this circuit to hold out for his first win of the season.
Yeah, and the pace of these guys at the front has been absolutely relentless. 48 seconds ahead of that battle with Wallingstrom that we're seeing. Insane in just the 15 laps. Just showing you, the pace of these guys, and B, just how much time you lose being in the battles in behind, which is why qualifying can be so important, and therefore why the 20 car reverse grid is going to be quite major as well. Dan Holm here in the 79 machine. He's got two cars battling in behind Motin, sending it down the inside there. Not quite enough. Maybe it will be on the exit though. But now it's going to turn to the outside of turn 4, trying to get the run onto the straight.
There's Philip Hard in the middle there, by the way, of this sandwich, and he's got the poor run, I'm afraid, out of turn 4 because of that tighter exit. And here goes Motin. He'll have a look to the inside. He goes quite dramatically to the inside on the way towards Brooklands here. Braking later, tighter line, gets through, just slides up in front of Philip Harnan. Should have that place now as well. He'll look to hang on to 13th in the final run to the line.
Yes, absolutely, but we're coming up the back straight for the final time. Can Eriksson hold on? I think he should be covered. Lenholm not close enough. He did have that one look around lap 12, lap 11 in the race, but it's not going to be enough, and it looks like the 37 will take the checker.
Well, Jesper Eriksson won 8 races last season. If he's on that kind of form again, this could be the first of many. Round 3 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Indy Series goes to Jesper Eriksson here at Silverstone, just half a second ahead of Ivan Lenholm. And with last season's margin between them so close, we could be in for another great season between them as well. One of last week's winners, Lindhoff, goes over the line in 3rd. Fredriksson hangs on from Olsen in 4th. The other battles come to the line now as well, involving Robert Eriksson trying to hang on from Hakan Schott here for 15th place.
The 101 gets a good run through Stowe. Is he going to send it to the left, to the right? Rob Eriksson defends to that inside line as he's now going to try it all the way around the outside. That probably isn't going to work. Eriksson should have the run out of the final corner. And unfortunately for the 101 machine, he's going to have to hold on to that 16th place. That will be a P5 start, though, when we get to the reverse grid. So that's not looking too bad from him. And out of this final corner, Wallingstrom, is he going to be able to stay there in the middle of the cars? Yes, he is. And hold on for the 3 machine, having a very, very intense battle there.
There's Linus Hellberg confirming pole position in race 2, so he will be delighted with that, I am sure. That's most of the drivers who stayed at the pit lane during that race, actually. 24 stayed at the pit lane this time round, and so a few did end up missing out just about on the circuit. After 15 laps, it's a SimRace Sweden 1-6 with Jesper Eriksson winning the race. Even Lenholm couldn't quite get there in the end. Henrik Lindhoff gets another podium in 3rd. Oscar Fredriksson and Alexander Olsen round out the top 5. Edvin Forsland battled through to 6th position ahead of Robin Ostland. Mikael Sundström regained some of those positions lost on the opening laps, I should say, and finished in 8th place. Melvin Ackerson and Cedric Holmbom round out the top 10. Just inside 30 seconds or so was Jochen Frisk. Daniel Holmer, who won in the Oval Series a few weeks ago, is 12th ahead of Oscar Motin and Philip Hahn, who were battling on the last lap, although finished quite a few seconds apart. Robert Eriksson held on from Hakan Schott at the end there. Jonas Sjöberg did the same to Kalle Wellenstam and Kasper Björk. Linus Hellberg held on for pole in race 2. Christopher Dahlstrand couldn't quite get there, and neither could Marcus Stiller. It was Björn Broster in 23rd with Anders Carlson and Dan Seglerson, the final drivers on the lead lap. Tony Uven and Peter Helmbro and Oliver Hagström finished 1 lap down after incidents. Jesper Roman, Niklas Helm, and also the last 2, who I've forgotten, didn't make the end of the race after retiring on the opening lap. Matthias Strauss and Sami Josensu both ending things after the opening couple of laps. Well, race 1 down, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few moments' time for the reverse grid race, the race with a pit stop. Much excitement to come after this. Welcome back to Silverstone for the Prix Esports Arena Grand Prix, part of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Indy Series for the back end of 2024. Myself, Fiona Leary and Cam Rogers still with you for the second race, which is just over a minute away. What takeaways can we take from those first 15 laps in that first race, Cam, and apply forward towards the reverse grid race? I've got to say the reverse grid race 2 weeks ago was something to behold, especially early on. Wonder what we're going to get here.
Well, we saw some really nice battles, so I think we're going to see that continue, especially with the reverse grid. Of course, you get some of the faster drivers going to the middle of the pack and try and work their way forward. So there should be a bit of a bunching effect and some battles. A slightly longer race, 7 laps extra, 22 laps, but they must make a pit stop to use both tyre compounds. So do you do the reds first, have some extra grip at the start, or do you then go for the primaries first, maybe get them out of the way, and then have a longer red stint at the end on the faster tyre? We'll have to work out what the strategy is on that front, but it looks like the track is very raceable, which is good. We saw these groups of 2, 3, 4 cars find themselves on the track and have some nice fights. So I think it's working, but I think we can agree that the rear end of the car looks quite difficult for some drivers out there.
Yeah, it did. Wonder whether that's just the way you have to drive these cars to make them go quickly, or whether that is something that these drivers have elected en masse to put into their machines. But anyway, it does seem that way as warm-up comes to a close pretty much here. Although, as someone described to me the other day, these warm-up sessions between races are less warm-up and more cool down, really, because they need to just get themselves ready for the 22 laps ahead of us. It is effectively the race results we saw before, only more than 2/3 of them are reversed, so it's not really the same at all. It does mean that it's going to be a very, very interesting start to the race if Barbara is anything to go by. Most of those who did well in the opening race a couple of weeks ago actually got caught up in something. Let's hope for something a little bit different this time round. Linus Hallberg will be on pole ahead of Kasper Björk, with Kalle Wellingstrom and Jonas Söberg back together again, this time on row 2. Hakan Schott and Robert Eriksson were battling over the line. They'll be sharing row 3, with 7th place taken up by Philip Hahn. It's Oscar Motin in 8th, and then Daniel Holmer and Jock Frisk running up the top 10. Cedric Holmbohm starts a load of SimRace Sweden cars, both for the Academy and Pro. Moven Ackerson alongside him. Still more to come on this next page from SimRace Sweden, but not on row 7. Mikael Sundström and Robin Östlund hold that. Edvin Forsland, a race winner already this season, is 15th ahead of Alexander Olsen. Oscar Fredriksson, another race winner this season, ahead of Henrik Lindhoff. Then finally, the final 2 who got reversed, Ivan Lenholm and Jesper Eriksson. Christopher Dahlstrand and Marcus Stiller just missed out for Clutch Club Racing. It is Bjorn Broström and Anders Carlson on row 12. 25th position will be taken up by Dan Seglerson. Tony Uvenen, the first of those who had to pit during that race, 26th. He's ahead of Petter Holmbro and Oliver Hagström, and then those that didn't get to the end in any case. Jesper Oman, who's been in sim racing for ages. Nicholas Helm, he won't thank me for saying that. Nicholas Helm in 30th, Matthias Strauss in 31st, and Samuel Josensu in 32nd. There they are, lining up on the back straight towards the start. Now, you mentioned the 2 tyre compounds, Cam. That is an important part of this race. Only didn't really make much difference last week, I've got to say. Everyone decided the same strategy was the best strategy. I'm wondering whether they all decided to do the same thing because they thought, well, we're going to get stuck behind one another anyway. Doesn't really matter what we decide to do here. Whereas at Silverstone, they might have a bit more overtaking opportunity, or will they all decide on one strategy that will fit not only all of them for this race, but all of them for all the races?
I guess if they do the maths and they work out what the fastest strategy is, if they've all done the same maths, it's probably going to come to a similar effect. We do see some different tyres at the front there. We've got reds on the front row, blacks on the second, and a bit of a mixture in behind, so that is good. Of course, in many ways, they're not the tyres aren't as different as potentially some other series, so it just depends of how your feel is actually with the car, and how you want to work that out. Big chance for these top few rows. Of course, drivers a little bit off the pace in race 1, maybe having a couple of issues, but now they can, with a good, some good pace, good racecraft, potentially get themselves a podium or a top 5.
Well, hold on to your hats for this and get on the edge of your seat, do all the pre-flight checks, because this is going to be an enthralling second race to the Prix Esports Arena Grand Prix here at Silverstone. The Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Indy Series is going to hit full speed now here in round 4 as the Silverstone circuit gets to welcome 20 reverse drivers ready to get onto the front straight. And first of all, stack up on the beginning. Look at the concertina effect in the background as some of the leaders decide to get underway rather late. Instead, they all go out wide through turn number 1. One of them has anyway. Linus Hallberg, though, leads still in towards turn number 3. Big braking down the inside from Wellington on Kasper Bjork with 3 wide already in the mid-pack. As we go in towards turn 4 for the first time, Bjork goes into the lead as Wellington goes wide, and Hallberg is dropping down the field as well from the top 5. Goodness me, a few using the runoff, but everybody through rather cleanly so far.
And absolute sends down the inside in the first few corners. Bit of a lock up there. Drivers still trying to get themselves involved in with this battle. Crazy scenes as we go through Luffield, still side by side for some of these drivers. They can't work their way into a single file format just yet as they try and find their way up the field. Hana making some good few positions there on the start. Hellberg dropping back. He's outside the top 10.
Down the inside and towards Kopp's corner for Oscar Motin, who gets back past Philip Hahn, who recently overtaken him. Very wide, I'm afraid, from Frisk as well. Hahn's losing more places now, as down the inside also goes Frisk, even after losing places himself. Ackerson also making his way through into the Maggots and Beckett section. They go, and I'm afraid there's no front wing any longer on that car. Linus Hellberg, the pole sitters off, and we've got carnage, I'm afraid, coming through Chapel and onto the straight for the first time. Edwin Forslands is dropping a couple of places as well. I'm afraid the incident eventually has come in the final sector.
The standings and the towers moving all over the place. Cars going up and down. That's not the way that we would have wanted to go through that first lap. But this is what happens when everyone starts bunching up. There's obviously a few issues for some drivers. And is that Hahn actually without? Is that front wing? Yes, it is. But he hasn't come into the pit lane. Was out half of front wing. So he's going to continue on. But he's going to have huge understeer, especially in these right-handed corners. He's going to slow down so much that car is going to need to come down pit road.
Well, he's carrying on because he just got it into the final chicane, I believe, so he's going to have to basically do a whole lap. Oscar Motin went wide, which is how this all started. He went off the circuit, and in reaction, it was all going on there. Hahn has now lost his front wing. How on earth has that happened? Oh, the 2 Clutch Club teammates have come into contact, I'm afraid, and one of them spins around. That was Alexander Olsen, who ended up in the grass bank on the right-hand side, I'm afraid, as a result of Oscar Motin spinning around. Anders Carlson lost his rear wing somehow.
Oh, absolute carnage. That's how Hana went up into the air. Oh, my word. So much to unpack through this first lap of racing. Let's see this once more. Yeah, so when it deep, didn't it? Was that the 112 of Fredriksson? Went a little bit deep. Hana trying to, keep in there with the normal speed. Unfortunately, made some contact, and that was enough to lose the front wing. And as you say, the 2 teammates there, Clutch Club, not having the best start they would have wanted after just missing out on the reverse grid too.
Yeah, that was still getting shunted around, I think I'll say, from Christopher Dahlstrand, who is now 6 seconds ahead of his teammate. Out onto the hangar straight they go. I've got to say, the leaders of the last race have not made their way through the field quite as quickly as they did at Barber Motorsports Park because, partly because maybe there's been a few less incidents on this occasion, which is a good thing, but it does slightly slow the progress of those leaders. Just around 2 laps gone then. Let's have a look at which tyres everybody's on here. Mostly not red as far as I can tell. Mostly primaries for the drivers, although Bjork has gone for reds. He's started towards the front. Schott as well started towards the front, has gone for reds, as has Frisk. Anybody else towards the front on reds? Not really. Hellberg was near the front and he went for reds. So it seems that if you're in the first few rows maybe, you'd go for it, but if not, then you're probably best eating up the primaries while you're in traffic.
Absolutely, and keeping the track position, I think, at the start is quite a big factor in that one. And potentially trying to pull away a little bit before the pit stops come around, trying to not have anyone, directly behind you trying to do that. As we're getting a move there from Melvin Aukerson, getting through in the 086 machine, Wellington dropping down a place there. There's a bit of a gap ahead of them, actually. So the top 4 cars, obviously on the reds at the front, pulling away, and that is going to be quite a big gap to overcome, actually.
Here comes Wellington back again on the way towards Kops, and Aukerson lets him have that one. On this occasion anyway, he'll get the run out of Kops and go for it instead into Maggots and Beckett's. Well, this could be side by side. Oh, and through the middle Ostlund tries to go. He's not quite going to manage it. Side by side they go, and eventually they stay in the same positions they were before. These are effectively the leaders from the previous race getting caught up in this, by the way. Ericsson and Fredriksson are right behind. Where do they go here? Look at Sundström on the left-hand side. They're trying to find some space. They're all finding room here, and from somewhere anyway. Round the outside goes Ostlund. That would be spectacular if he can do it through Stowe. He's off the circuit trying to make this work. On the way into the final chicane, they're 3 wide again. Wallingstam goes through the middle very later on the brakes. I'm not sure how he's still 5th. Here goes Ostlund on the very outside again. He was 3 wide through Stowe corner, making it work on the outside. Surely he could do 1 wide through the final corner, and here he goes into the first. He'll look to the outside again. He'll go for a cutback. Surely he's going to dive down the inside at turn 3.
Yeah, 8-car train here, battling in towards turns 1 and 2. Wallingstam still just about holding on to this position. Ostlund has got to have a big fight now down the inside. Goes Wilson in the background. There is Ericsson. He gets caught up, and that is a big thing for the championship. He's going to get back in a straight line, but all sorts of things are happening because now we're seeing Aukston trying to get through as well.
Yeah, it was Sundström who went down his inside and went straight into the side of him. At least it looked like that from that angle anyway. That will be looked at for sure. Here goes Ericsson back down the inside of Ostlund. He can't find any room. Fredriksson just following behind. I mean, we're seeing very few. Let's just, before I get to that, let's get to this. Ericsson goes down the inside of Sundström first of all. You know, nice move. Gets himself ahead. Sundström back down the inside. Misses the corner entirely.
Yep, just way too deep. I mean, Ericsson had him covered. Ericsson even got ahead, went to the curb on the left-hand side of the track. He moved back over because he had it covered. But unfortunately, huge send down the inside from Sundström. I mean, he was miles away from the apex, so he was never making that corner. And unfortunately, the contact was made. And then when they got that wheel-to-wheel contact, just flicked the cars around to make matters worse. Coming in towards turn number, I can't remember the number, into Stowe, we'll call it. And we're going to see the move there from Frisk as he gets past Schott, who drops down in the 101 machine. And that was a fairly nice move, actually.
Turn 15, in case you're interested, but Stoke corner to you and I.
You used to calling it corner numbers at other tracks, but they're all names here.
I know, yeah, it's but only because I know them all, or normally I do when my mind has not completely forgotten the word Brooklands. Out of the final corner for Wallingstam, who holds on to 5th for now. Ostlund still giving him a real hard time here on the way in towards turn 1. Looks to the outside. This is looking like a replay. Looking to the outside through the first pot, inside through the second, maybe a dive at the third, and it nearly is a replay because it's not quite happened again as the lockups just begin to creep in. Now 5 laps into this race, way early for pit stops, especially for those who started on primaries, which is most of, if not all of, this group. Ostlund now to the inside. They're here at Aintree. Look at Fredriksson. He'll get the double slipstream. Is he going to be brave and get down the inside of Brooklands? No. Wallingstam's going to do it instead here, and again holds on to the place. Somehow he is holding on to 5th against all odds now.
Oh, Fredriksson having to get out of that one, was going to dive to the inside, but Austin did that move for him. And now as they work their way up through Woodcote towards Copse Corner, any big moves being made, a defensive line to the inside from the 3 machine, that's actually going to just slow him down ever so slightly. In the background though, we're seeing side by side through Coles Hagström on the outside, Holmer on the in. Will they be able to continue this up towards Magus and Beckett? It looks like it's going to be a brave move there for the 79 machine, who finally completes that move. Definitely not an easy one, but he's got it done. Although as he comes out onto the back straight, he's going to be under pressure, and also from his sister teammate coming through too.
It's an unbelievable start from Hagström, who had to pit during the first race, and that's never a good sign. He started way from the back. It's side by side at the moment with Forsland, who's having a look at him and goes up the inside into 10th place. I was going to make the point a little bit earlier on, by the way, how many of the top 10 currently finished in the top 10 in the first race? I could only count maybe 2 or 3 at the moment. It's been a remarkable second race so far. Ostlund now maybe finally has that position. Oh, Fredriksson tried to follow through. He couldn't do it. And unfortunately, real shame for Wallingstam, who defended so well. He's now well outside the top 10.
How many times have we seen it at that final corner? It just isn't enough space for 2 cars to go easily a one-line corner, but drivers still try it, and then when they do, contact is made. So let's see, it's from Wallingstam. He's going there nicely in the first apex. Second apex, of course, Austin comes up the inside. As he's trying to filter back in, contact is made on the rear right from Fredriksson.
Meanwhile, in the group that was left behind, it's quite a battle. This is it again. I mean, he's there for a long time, to be fair to Fredriksson. I know that there was a real crash like that in the Formula 1 Grand Prix not so few years ago, and I personally think the car on the inside does have a right to its space there. But anyway, let's see how that one is viewed afterwards. Forsund and Hagström still battled side by side for 8th place. And they single-filed out in Kopp's corner. This has been a remarkable group to watch so far in this race. Only 6 laps in. The beauty of this format being they've all selected a tyre that means they can't pit early and really get themselves out of this.
Yeah, I guess so, but they did do, some drivers did do the 15 laps on the Reds in that first race. Let's see when they decide to come in for the pit stop as we come back to the battles up towards the front, as we're seeing Frisk and Scherberg having a big battle, because Schoz drops out down to that 4th place, and now it's the 2 cars ahead having the battle for second and third, as of course Bjork has gone way up the road.
Everyone has moved position, as you can see. So there's Frisk making his way through. Fredriksson all of a sudden is side by side with Osland, and that's because they're all pitting. Sorry, they're not side by side at all. It's early stops here from SimRace Sweden predominantly. Fredriksson and Lenholm both coming in. Lenholm's been fairly quiet so far, but I suppose that's down to the fact that he didn't get off to a brilliant start and has been slowly making progress away from our cameras, as opposed to doing it all in one go, which people like Hagström have done up well over 15 places so far in this race. There's Frisk though, holding on to 3rd place well, and this is something we didn't see so much of at Barber. Drivers who started towards the front actually retaining these places. Those who made it through the crashes at Barber were almost automatically given a top 10, but not many of them have got back into the top 10 at the moment.
It was absolute carnage though on those first couple laps. I think it really just spread the field out enough. I mean, first to 10th place is already 15 seconds in 7 laps, so really a big field spread. So that's given the space for these drivers to stay up towards the front, and for the likes of Bjork, Frisk, Scherberg, they'll be absolutely loving this because they can stay out the front a little bit longer. And even if there is a bit of a an undercut or overcut in the strategies, there's not going to be a big change of say 10 seconds for them to go outside the top 5.
Look at this. This is very close for Forsund here. Surprised he's making such easy work of a pass on Åkesson here. You'd expect this to be a bit of a closer battle, really, but Forsund goes racing on through and into 6th position. So Åkesson loses out there, and maybe Forsund will stay out now as a result and just look to use some of his speed. Åkesson is going to get overtaken by Hagström as well as a result of this, though. And so positions are really starting to be lost now, as into the pit lane comes Alexander Olsen from just outside the top 10. He wants to get out of this traffic now as well.
He, of course, was spun around in that sort of first, second lap incident coming out onto the back straight. So he's actually still not too far behind some major points. But I do wonder if there's some damage repairs that he may have to recover. We'll certainly find out when we get obviously back racing and how the gaps all looking. Lap 8 of 22, so still a little way to go before that half race distance, and it really depends where you want to split it up, because I don't think there's an exact maths with this one, Ewan.
Hold on a second. Fredriksson and Olsen, according to my timing screen, didn't stop in their box.
See, I was thinking that because they were still on primaries on the exit. I was considering that, but
well, they've got to use both compounds. It doesn't matter whether they've stopped or not.
Exactly, so they must be incident points, which with the amount of contact that we've seen so far, I wouldn't be surprised. Remember, Fredriksson had that contact coming to club. Obviously, Olsen was spun around as well. A couple of off tracks in there, adds up quickly.
By the way, just to clear up, Lindhoff did change tyres and did stop, so it wasn't everyone who's pitted so far has only done drive-throughs, but it is 2 of them. How on earth, is it feasible that those guys have had so much contact in this race so far that they're A, undamaged, and B, have the incident points required to need a drive-through? That seems extraordinary to me.
Anything can happen, but it could be the off tracks as well. To be honest, adding up quickly, we've seen a lot of cars off the track, so I wouldn't be surprised if that adds up. But of course, it's the contacts, the X4s that add up very quickly. Åkesson comes into the pit lane from P6 and maybe trying a bit of an undercut. Let's see how that one works out for him.
Let's hope he stops. I'm slightly fearful now.
That is a fair point.
Is he going to stop? Oh, he does. Thank goodness for that. In he comes, and he'll put on the reds now to the end. As you say, some did do the 15 laps in the first race on red, so it should be fine from here. It's really a tactical decision. This is the thing I really enjoy about this second race especially. It's really a tactical decision when you come into pit lane. Yes, there's tyre compounds sort of affecting the race, and of course they will to an extent be a pace difference and whatever. However, it is mostly tactical and mostly how can you stay out of traffic as much as possible? How can you overtake at the right moment? How can you, get ahead just when it's required? It's a very tactical second race as opposed to the first one, which is just lights to flag action, really.
Yes, it's weird how just a couple of extra laps and the rule for a tyre change changes the way that you go about the race. It's not too big of a difference on paper, but on the racetrack it really does make a bit of a difference. So lap 9 we're on to. Bjork is leading by a decent way. Frisk and Sjöberg behind. They dropped shot, and then it is a big gap already back to Austin in that 5th place and even to the back end of the top 10. I think these guys have got a good result covered no matter what strategy they do. So they actually have some good pace. We've been mentioning earlier maybe other tracks we might see the reverse grid pole get squabbled up, but this time around they're looking good.
If we discount even Lenholm and his sort of almost inevitable... sorry, I was talking about Lenholm earlier when I was talking about drivers who actually did make a stop and didn't make a drive through. I was talking about Lenholm, not Lindhoff, although Lindhoff has also stopped himself, as has Robert Eriksson further down the field, as you might expect after the damage that he incurred earlier. This is the driver, Jonas Sjöberg, who I think has got a real good chance of winning this race. Not only is he up there with the leaders, but actually he's still on the primary tyres. So he can put on the reds later on. He can absolutely destroy them too, because he's gone quite deep on the primaries now as well. And he is looking decent for the race as things stand. As I say though, Lenholm is going to be their big concern. He's come out mostly in clean air, although now he will start to see his advantage ebb away. He's just got to the back of a big group for 13th place. We just saw the front of it with Cedric Holmbom, and Lenholm is going to lose some time as a result of this.
Yes, absolutely, and this is a very unpredictable series, especially an unpredictable race with how it's working out. Very sort of difficult to predict who is going to be winning this one a little bit later on this evening. So I do love that, to be honest, and I was a bit unsure about how this track would work, but it's really giving us the race that we would have wanted. Drivers wiggling around a little bit there. That's Frisk in the 25 sort of pink and red car, trying to hold on to that second place. He really wants to keep that track position before they come down into the pit road. It looks like they are not doing it this time around, but Sjöberg is coming back strong as Frisk is starting to make a couple of mistakes.
Bjork is starting to get pulled in by Frisk himself here, so they're all losing their gap. They need to, I'd say they need to get in pretty soon. I know they are wanting to maximise their red striped tyres, especially in the case of Bjork, Frisk and Schott, who are all on those reds up front here, but they need to get in pretty soon. Sjöberg is seeing time get away from him here. He's not making the errors, but if Frisk does, then he's got no choice but to follow him. Now surely he's going to try and strike, get the traction out of turn number 4, and then the run down the Wellington straight for a move into Brooklands. Is he willing to do this? Is he close enough? On the way into the left-hander, he looks to the inside. He knows this is his moment. If he wants to win, this could be a very important pass for Jonas Sjöberg, and he does. He gets through on the inside, and that was very, very important.
Yeah, it was very decisive. He got to the inside, he made it stick, and he's already 5-6 car lengths up the road. So this is looking very good. 2 seconds behind Bjork, and he will have better tyres in the second stint. As we get to half race distance, I think you are right, Ewan. He is looking very nice indeed. Frisk can't keep it on the track at this moment. Maybe a pit stop is going to be coming his way. So keep an eye on this 75 car, but he has to execute though. He can't just, hope on his strategy working. He has to go out and do the laps as well, and so far though it is looking good.
Yep, out onto the hangar straight now, and you can already see it just looks different between the two of them. They just look more, one looks more comfortable than the other here. Jonas Sjöberg certainly the one who is in the comfortable category there. Does Bjork react and come in, seeing what he's seen behind? Well, Frisk certainly does, and you'd expect that, I suppose. Bjork does too. So they both realise the game's up here for the red striped tyres. They need to be coming in. Schott also, because I think he's losing time as well, but he's decided to stay out as far as I can see at the moment. Here come the two leaders. They'll be making their way right down to the end of pit lane. Where are they going to come out in relation to Lenholm here, who was the first driver in, of course? He's still in traffic. Cedric Holmbom is still ahead of him. So I just wonder if he's lost too much time in that traffic, or whether he gained enough in the undercut itself. Where is there he is into the final corners. So Lenholm has still got some overtaking to do. He has not performed the undercut that maybe he hoped.
and he will have, of course, quite a bit more worn tyres when we get to the end of the race. So this is looking good both for track position and also strategy for those drivers who held it out a little bit longer. So it's always that ebb and flow. You can go early, try and get the track position, but if it doesn't work, unfortunately you have to make the overtakes with older tyres. Frisk also not quite keeping on the track with the newer tyres compared to the older tyres. Well, of course, they'll need a lap or so to get up to racing temperature. So that's always an interesting factor for the undercut as well.
And with these two sort of sliding around all over the place on new tyres, do you think Sjöberg should come in immediately here and just try and do a one-lap overcut? I know he's going to be having 10-lap old red stripe tyres towards the end, which could be a little bit old, but you know, he's gaining time right now. From the looks of that outlap, he would have been going a bit quicker, and as soon as those guys get their tyres up to temperature, they'll be gaining on Sjöberg because he's on old primaries now.
Absolutely, but then when he comes out, he'll then have that lap of cold tyres. So it's always a tricky one, but I think you might be right. It depends, though.
No.
If he's feeling good on these primaries, he's now got clear track, go at it, and have even better tyres. There's still 10 laps to go in this race. So Schott comes in to pit lane in the background. So I think if he does a couple of decent laps, he should still be okay.
Yeah, I think if he came in there, he would have been ahead of Frisk, but there might have been a bit of a cost to that. Lindholm is 6 seconds behind. He's on better compound of tyres, of course. He's aiming to take them quite a long way. However, he did it in the first race, so he won't be bothered about that. And he will maybe not be bothered about the margin either. Hacken Schott will probably be ahead of him too. Lindholm, the reason I'm using Lindholm as a bit of a marker, by the way, is because he's the first of those to have pitted who also finished in the top 10 during that opening race. So he's a real good marker as far as those who were challenging for race 1 victory and challenging for race 2 as well. I personally think he's going to run out of time here. It's making me wonder whether Bob Motorsports Park was the best chance for anyone to win 2 races in one night, because this is looking difficult.
Absolutely, and I think the pace of the guys who were at the front there with the reverse grid is just seemingly good enough to hold on, added to the obviously the pace of the cars behind, but then the bit of carnage that we saw just splitting it up. So definitely good as you've got a SimRace Sweden train trying to do their best in this race, but they are lacking on the track position, which is so important. These guys, bits outside the top 10 as it stands.
In towards Brooklands they go. Looks like there's a bit of mutual working together here. If my eyes don't deceive me anyway. They're 13th on back. Åkesson did a 16-second pit stop, by the way. Don't know what the hell took him so long, but that's about as double as long. It's like he changed 8 tyres, not 4. But he is now right in the back, right in the jaws of these drivers here, including Tony Uvinen, who started right from the back. Lindhoff's here too. Fredriksson as well. I know they've all had their trials and tribulations today, but this is a little bit of a stumble here for SimRace Sweden, for a team who were all over the top 10 in race 1.
Absolutely, but I guess it's just the way the series goes, as the teammates are going to be fighting, coming down this back straight, trying to fight for their track position. As we're going to see Fredriksson, a huge dive to the inside in the background, as Fredriksson did get through there. So Åkesson behind. There's now Tony Uvinen, the 84 machine, who's trying to get involved in this battle. Not going to be doing anything steady coming down in towards the final chicane, but certainly a little bit of a car that could wind up the SimRace Sweden cars who want to keep it nice and stable at this point.
9 laps to go for these as they come over the line. Over 40 seconds behind the leader, would you believe it? Who still is Jonas Sjöberg, who's really starting to stretch out these tyres a long way. I mean, if he stays out for too much longer, surely there's going to be almost no benefit to putting the reds on at the end. There's only 8 to go.
I'm just trying to have a look at the lap times of those who pit, and he's actually quicker than Bjork and Frisk, so that's why he's staying out. So He's doing a good job. In fact, he's basically doing the same speed as like Uvinen that we see here, who's now trying to go to the outside of Brooklyn. So the speed is looking good for the 75, but can the 84 make some overtakes? He's got the up and under there, the outside of Uffield, although he's just going to be overtaken though, because up the inside is of course going to be the next SimRace Sweden car of Åkesson, who's trying to get through. Can he make it stand to make a stick up towards the inside of Kops? This is going to be a big, brave move if he can keep it there, but no, he backs out of that one.
That is one of the winners from last week, Henrik Lindhoff, in there as well. Åkesson, of course, 3rd place after the opening couple of races at Barber, side by side again into Maggots and Beckett, and this time Lindhoff does get through. Yeah, so Lindhoff is indeed through on Uvinen, as is Arkeson and Fredriksson already getting away. Meanwhile, pit stop for Jonas Sjöberg. Is he going to be ahead of his main rivals for this race, Björk and Frisk? It's only Hagström and Holmer now still to pit in this race. 7.6 seconds in the box for Jonas Sjöberg. That's shorter than Björk as well. Here he comes out of the pit lane, and he's through here. Björk has lost a lot of time by pitting so early. These primaries have not served him so well. So out of the pit lane, it's Jonas Sjöberg by 2 seconds over Robin Östlund, over a second over Kasper Björk, then Jock Frist another half second back, then Edvin Forsland, who's looking very good in what is 7th place right now, might be 5th in a moment.
And such is his 2-second gap, he should be okay to hold on to that, including his tyres getting up to temperature. So this is working out very well indeed as Schott goes back past Lenholm, who's worked his way up. So this is definitely interesting how the strategies are working in the favour of those staying out a bit longer, potentially in this race. So I did say Sjöberg's pace was good, and that is just the exact example of it. Remember, as you say, you and the top two still need to pit.
He was 10th in points after the opening round of the season, by the way, so clearly not a slow driver by any means, but I don't think he would have been on the top of many lists to win this second race here this evening. But right now, he's the favourite, I'd say. 7 laps to go. Frisk gets a good run on Björk here, and this is the two on the same strategy here. This is a legitimate battle as far as these two have basically done the same thing today. It's who's quicker than the other, and Frisk goes through. That was pretty easy. Can Jock Frisk now get any closer to Östlund? I'd be surprised. They're on primaries. Most around them are on reds.
Yeah, difficult one. Top two come in, so this is now going to be all for position with the final shoot to the end of the race. Can they find their way through? Forsland up the inside of the final corner. We've seen contact there already with some cars, not this time around. Up towards turn one, there's also a bit of a difficult place, you know, flat out corner, not where you want to do, but actually, maybe not flat out for the car ahead. Forsland's carried so much more speed without the inside line up towards turn three, has that move done as well. So very nice as Björk goes back a couple of places.
Through he goes into 4th place. Björk dropping back, but Forsland is still going to be a force to be reckoned with during this race. The points leader, of course, after the opening round at Barber by 16 as well, which is quite a lot for just one round. He will maybe take a bit of a hit here, but maybe just outlining his strategy to a championship here. I know it's early. I might be getting ahead of myself with only 4 races gone at the end of this one. However, if he can be this consistent and this sort of unflashy in terms of staying out of trouble, then he could be right in the money. He's looking up the inside here of Frisk. It was getting very close into Woodcut. Now he's going for it into Kops, and through he goes by the looks of that as they go out of camera shot and back into it again. Forsland's into 3rd. Maybe he can win this race still from here.
4 seconds is the gap to the next car. Can he make it work? I guess he has got the laps. It just depends how he's feeling on those tyres and what he's going to be able to do. Of course, he pitted on the same lap as the cars ahead, so there's no real difference that he can do, as we're going to be seeing a replay here. It's going to be a huge send up the inside, to be fair. Massively committed move. He was behind as well, coming into the corner, really, but he had the track position on that inside, and of course, Frisk not wanting to back out of what would still be a good result.
Just to give you context of where everybody started here from the front three, because I know it's been very confusing. Sjöberg started 4th, so it had the biggest advantage of anybody inside the top 3. Östlund started easier maths there, 14th place. Forsland started 15th because they finished 6th and 7th respectively in that opening race. There is Uvinen getting overtaken by Arkeson. He still made places Uvinen here because he pitted in the first race and so started almost from the back of the field here, but he's down another place there. So effectively, what I'm saying is Sjöberg was a lot slower in qualifying in the race compared to Östlund and Forsland behind him, who have sort of been roughly similar pace so far tonight. So if Sjöberg can hang on here, it would be a wonderful victory, and a bit of a surprise victory too, with all respect.
Absolutely, but that's what the reverse grid race is for, and that's also why we have this road course series alongside the ovals as well, just to add something a bit different here in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and maybe some different drivers getting up towards the front. So that would be a great one to see, and just give them a bit more confidence maybe coming to the mid part of the season. Holmer's made his way past Schott for P9 as well, so the battle's still going on a little bit further back, so got to keep your eyes all over the field here as it changes very quickly.
Certainly does. Holmer into ninth then. There's Sjöberg. This is the battle for the lead. Östlund pops out from behind him and through he goes with 5 to go at the line. I think Sjöberg is maybe just going to let this one go in hopes of a regain later, but here he goes. He is going to stay on the outside through Stowe and get the inside into the final chicane. They give each other respectful room, a lot of room in fact. Östlund though finally through, and that might be the pass that wins him the race. He needed to do that quickly. Forsland is coming up on the back of them both very, very quickly here, and if Östlund didn't get that done in the near future, he would have been embroiled in a bit of a sandwich there, which he really wanted to avoid.
Forsland was 2 seconds quicker on the previous lap than Sjöberg, a second quicker than Östlund. I think Forsland is going to be well within the shout for this victory. I thought that 4-second gap might be too much, but if he's a second lap faster, he'll catch up before the end of the race. It might just be one opportunity, 2 opportunities that he's going to get to make his way past, but if he can execute that, he can get himself a race victory today.
It's looking good for Östlund here. He would get the most points out of today, I believe, with 7th and a 1st, if he can hang on here. To let you know where the others who finished up towards the pointy end in the first race are right now. Robert Eriksson, I'm afraid, is... Robert Eriksson, excuse me. Jesper Eriksson won the race. He is out of the race now. He's so far down, so at 28th will be his finishing position, I'm afraid. Lennart made a very early stop, of course. I'm sure you'll remember. He, at the moment, is in... oh goodness, I've lost him now. I shouldn't do this on the fly. I apologise. 7th place is where he is at the moment. Henrik Lindorff was on the podium in that first race. He won't be on the podium in this one. He's 12th as things stand. And again, for the second week in a row, the second race in a row, race meeting in a row, we're seeing those in the top 3 in the first race struggle to get there again in the second race. Top 20 is a real big ask to come back through on.
Oh, it's massive, absolutely massive, and that is what's going to keep the championship alive before we get to the final race of the season at the Indy Road Course. So Holmer gets past Lenholm there, and the 79 machine. Wait, actually, he's gone off into the pit lane. That's why he didn't really battle with his teammates. So Lenholm, of course, from the second place in that first race, is going to be dropping back once again, coming down pit road.
Oh dear. So none of those who finished in the top 3 are going to be in the top 10. What a bizarre day. What a bizarre day. But that's what we get here in the Indy Series. Been a very, very interesting start indeed. I mean, goodness knows how Bellal's going to go in a couple of weeks. We've got reverse grids there too. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible to make overtakes round there. So, well, not impossible at all, because obviously turn 3 will be a decent chance. But you get what I mean. The opening laps especially are going to be really, really crucial there. And very, very different to here at Silverstone, I suspect. It's going to be... there's a lot to look forward to because it is so unpredictable, as you said before.
I do love a bit of Bellal as well. Huge send down the inside there. Bit of contact is going to be made. It's not the ideal racing line as well. This is Skegelson trying to make his way past round the outside of the final corner. Racing room is given between the two. Oh no, is there not? They make contact. They go over to the wall on the left-hand side. That was a weird contact as the car just drifted over to the left. And both of those drivers realistically going to be out of this race.
Yeah, that's Sigurdsson and Johan Su as well, who are out of the race. They were battling for 20th position and have found each other in the wall now. I'm afraid Hakan Schott, after running in the top 5 for most of the opening part of this race, is really starting to tumble now. Hopefully we'll hang on to a top 10 because he's got about 3 or 5 seconds over. There he is in the background, Henrik Lindorff, who won a race a couple of weeks ago. This is the incident. I'm afraid Sigurdsson, I don't think, got enough room there by Johan Su, who just sort of forced him out wide through the final corner, which he's entitled to do, but then he needed to bring the car more to the middle of the road to give him room to rejoin the circuit again. He just didn't really do that.
Yeah, I mean, I literally was just saying they're giving each other racing room, and then they didn't. And the contact was made. Very unfortunate, because it's just the slightest of contacts as well. Front to rear always spins the car. That is slightly further ahead. Big shame. So here's the 77 Helmbro, who did struggle a little bit in that first race, but now he's trying to come back with a decent result. Up the inside, that's a nice switchback. Can he make himself up into 7th place? Yes, he can, as Bjork goes down. Because remember, Bjork was up towards the front at one stage, but now he's 12 seconds off.
Well, there you go. It's a real quick tumble, I'm afraid, if you're on primaries towards the end here. Maybe a lesson to some later on in the season. But as I said last week, there really wasn't any variation. Good to have a little bit of that here today. Sjöberg is on those alternate tyres here. He's on the reds, but he doesn't quite have the speed of those around him. Forsland looks like he's going to get through in here into Magnussen Beckett. An impressive move. Oh, no, contact! Forsland's off! Goodness goodness me, he was making such good progress. It was looking like second place would be his. Instead, he throws his podium away.
Certainly does. That was a huge send around the outside. Have to see what the space was like. Because I tell you what, I think he wasn't given enough space out on the exit of the corner. He left so much of the first apex. Look at that. And you're just drifting wide. Contact is made. Unfortunately, goes around.
Yeah, I think that might be a bit of a black mark against Sjöberg's race in the end here. That was, I agree, I think that was his doing. Forsland is still carrying around that bit of, I don't even know what you call that. Is that sort of a lower engine cover, barge board? I don't even know what that is, but it's flapping around anyway, and it can't be very much help to Forsland at the moment. He'd probably wish it'd just fall off and be gone. But look at it, he's dragging it round like a trolley in the supermarket at the moment. He's just can't get rid of it. Frisk is trying to get past him as a result, can't really do it. Elmbro and Holmer are both catching. This could be carnage for fourth place on the final 2 laps.
And the 811 of Hagström in third place as well. He's went up so many places in this race, and that was just a gift there as we come into the sort of the penultimate lap. Very good job to get up onto the current podium, because I don't think there's going to be too much aggression from these cars behind. I think they're a bit too far behind, too many seconds back, and Forsland's car is all over the place, and Frisk is going to have to be just a little bit careful when he comes up behind, because I think that SimRace Sweden Academy car is going to be wiggling about a bit.
Let's see. To be fair, most of the damage we've seen so far has been just made them very understeery, which is a bit more predictable, I suppose, but not great either. It's not going to be great, especially into here through Magnus and Beckett. It just looks like it can't be helpful. Through Chapel. Oh, he's got another power too early. That might have been his right foot, in all fairness, rather than the damage. And here goes Frisk. Here goes Holmer too. Will he try and take them both? Helmbro, excuse me, he's going to game on both of them. Forsland loses out on both. Here goes Holmer to the inside on Frisk, and he does get through. So he's making some good progress late on here as well through the reverse grid. Frisk is going to try and come back on him into the chicane, and he's not going to manage it. Holmer will have a very slow run out here though. Frisk is going to try and get the run inside the final corners. Always a dangerous place to be. Outside is as well, to be fair, and over the line they go. Holmer holds fourth, but for how long here on this final lap?
Yeah, white flag is out. Final opportunities for these drivers to try and make these moves. Are we going to see a return for the 27 trying to make these moves back? He's holding on as much as he can with that car. Obviously, it's not too slow, but it's definitely not perfect either. As in the background, Helmbro in that light blue car is going to be trying to come up the inside. Some lap traffic, I think, is getting involved here, getting out of their way. Helmbro looking to the inside, looking down to the outside, back to the inside. He's going to go. Can he hold it down the inside of Brooklands? Surely he's going to have the grip in the 77 machine side by side. They go through the apex. It pinches here as you get to Luffield. Great battling between them.
On an impossibly tight line. Helmbro looks like he'll hang on, but no. Outside of Luffield is going to mean 7th for now. Bjork will gain on both of them. Here comes Bjork, probably on better tyres at this stage. Oh, free wide into Kops, and he's going to go through the middle. Bjork gets through on both of them. That's spectacular. Into Kops' corner. Can he hang on here? Into Magnussen Beckett's. Forsland's not giving up just yet. He'll be on the inside, and no, he has to back out of it. These sets of corners look very, very shaky for him, I'm afraid, ever since Sjöberg got into the side of him. Meanwhile, by the way, that battle for second is going on here on the very last lap. It's all going to kick off here into the final few corners, as up ahead, Robin Ostland is going to take a great, great win. 7th in race 1, 1st in race 2, here in the Bright Esports Arena Grand Prix. What's going to happen further back? Sjöberg does hang on to second ahead of Hagström. Holmer holds on to 4th. Where's Forsland going to finish? He could be anywhere at this rate. Helmbo's in the pit lane. Not sure what that's all about. And well, I'm not sure what the results are going to do about that either. I'm not even sure where he's going to finish. But what a breathless final lap. Forsland in the end finishes in 8th.
I wonder if Helmbro just ticked over the incident counter on that final lap. He had to take the obviously the drive-through, but it's actually not too bad because you kind of cut off the final corner here. So if he holds on to that 7th place with that, that's actually not too bad of a disadvantage to take on this final run around. What a finish at Silverstone, though. The driver's going absolutely at it. We had a bit too much contact in some of the battles, but the ones where we did go side by side, what a move there by Bjork. Going through the middle of a 3-wide on that final lap, that just shows you how much risk these drivers are willing to take.
Unbelievable. Bjork there showing the strength of late race primary tyres, which most people would have shied away from, I suppose, but with those reds just going away towards the end, maybe the primaries do have a bit more ability to come back towards the end of a run than we initially gave them credit for. That was a spectacular end to a great race here at Silverstone. Race 2 delivers a slightly surprise winner, I suppose, in Robin Osland, but he was good enough, more than good enough for 7th in that opening race, so how much of a surprise can it really be? He wins by 6.6 seconds in the end in the second race of the Prix Esports Arena Grand Prix here from Silverstone. A few more drivers to finish further in the background, by the way. Broström and Ericsson making their way over the line. Not Jesper Ericsson, but those have finished now, and here are the results. Osland ahead of Sjöberg with Hagström also on the podium. Daniel Holmer with those late passes gets up to 4th with Jörg Friskin. 5th position. Kasper Björk finishes in 6th ahead of Evin Forsland after that late spin and damage for him. Alexander Olsen finishes 8th ahead of Hackenschott, and Henrik Lindhoff, the only driver on the podium in race 1 to even be in the top 10 of race 2. Oscar Fredriksson was 11th ahead of Ivan Lennholm, who was also on the podium in that first race, down to 12th here. Melvin Ackerson got past Tony Uvenen with a few laps to go to finish 13th ahead of Kalle Wellingström, and Peter Helmbro dropping to 16th. I'm afraid, at the end of this one, with Cedric Holmbom 17th. Marcus Stiller, Bjorn Broström and Robert Eriksson ran at the top 20, and indeed rounding out those who finished on the lead lap at all. Linus Hellberg, who started on pole, was 21st and a lap down. Dan Segursson and Christopher Dahlstrand also finished 1 down. Semi Josentu, after that crash with Segursson, finishes 3 down with Oscar Motin, and then those that retired really early on: Niklas Helm, Jesper Eriksson, Mikael Sundström, Philip Hahn, Anders Carlson, Jesper Oman and Matthias Strauss. The last 2, I'm not even sure, started the race. There they are. Not sure they even began. Let's have a chat with the second race winner, though, since it was the one that happened most recently. Robin Osland, the winner. I think I've just interrupted his conversation. Very sorry. Welcome into the booth. Good to have you with us. How was that second race? It was breathless for us to watch. You made a relatively late race pass on Jonas Sjöberg to get that win. Were you ever in doubt that you were going to have the time to catch and pass him? Never mind the actual ability to do it as well. Were you worried about not quite getting there with enough laps remaining?
I was more worried about the start, actually. The first laps was kind of hard getting by the traffic, but I had someone I was stuck behind maybe 5 laps or so, but when I passed him I felt kind of fast, so P1 was not too hard to catch, but he did a good job.
Now, this second race was very different to the second race 2 weeks ago, I think it's fair to say. Which second race, either at Barber Motorsports Park or at Silverstone here this evening, do you think is more like what we'll be seeing from the reverse grid races in the remaining 4 road course rounds? Is it going to be Barber, where everyone goes for roughly the same strategy, or something like Silverstone, where there are a few who take a couple of risks at the front and go on a different tyre strategy? Which do you think is more likely?
It's kind of hard to say. I watched the grid before I gridded to see what kind of laps, what kind of tires would start on, because I wasn't sure. I was actually thinking about going with the soft on the first race, but I thought top 10 was on the hard, so I switched like the last seconds.
What are your plans for the rest of the season? I know you weren't at the race at Barber. What are your plans for the rest of the season? Are we going to be seeing you a lot in the Indy series?
Yeah, I'll try to do every race I can. I don't know if I can make everyone, but you be sure to see me in the future.
All right, we look forward to it. Congratulations on the second race victory tonight, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Robin Osland. The winner tonight in race 2, and race 1 winner was Jesper Eriksson. Welcome in, Jesper. Good to have you with us. Let's chat about race 1 first, because of course it was where you were able to be successful in this series for the first time this season. How was it hanging on in the end from your teammate? We knew that you guys were going to fight regardless of whether you're teammates or not, and in the end you held on. How was the battle?
It was an amazing battle. I just knew with Ivan, you can't really do a mistake, and he will be there. And with the saving fuel in race 1, actually, it was quite hard to both manage him, the fuel, and not make too many mistakes, which I successfully did. And it was a fun race. Really happy to fight with Ivan. And as he said, even though we're teammates, we in SimRace Sweden we always fight, or in the second race. We guide each other, but the last 5 laps, it's always a fight. So it's really a pleasure to fight with teammates and have the respect to fight it. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, it's good to see. Let's deal with the second race as well. Sadly, I know you maybe want to brush over it, but just tell us about it from your perspective. We saw it in towards turn 4. What was your view of it?
I don't want to say too much, but it was quite big mistake from Michael, which unfortunately just ended my whole race. But yeah, it's racing. It sucks, but looking at the big picture for the championship, it's a real big disappointment, with me missing the first 2 rounds and all my drop weeks being gone. So it's gonna be hard to remain in the championship fight, I think, now looking forward, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Congratulations on race 1 victory though, Jesper, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much. Jesper Eracingligan there in race 1. Slightly less pleased with race 2, unfortunately for him. Join us again in a couple of weeks' time. It's the Detroit Grand Prix from the 17th of October, exactly 2 weeks. We will be live from 8 Central European time. And of course, we'll be back next week, Cam, for the next round of the Oval Series. Very much looking forward to that. But what a couple of races we saw here at Silverstone, especially the reverse grid race here tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's definitely loads of action here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We've got the Road Course Series, we've got the Oval Series, racing every single week, I should say, flip-flopping between the 2 series. Loads of action coming towards the end of 2024 as well. So even though the darkness is coming outside, we're certainly keeping it bright on the track.
We are. It will be fantastic to see you there again in a couple of weeks' time, or indeed next week, for the next round of the Oval Series. Thanks to everyone who's been tuned in tonight for the 3rd and 4th rounds of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Indy Series here on Thursday nights. This has been the Esports Arena Grand Prix from myself, Uniliri, Cam Roger, and Hugo Louise behind the cameras. It's goodbye for now. We'll see you on the Ovals in a week's time.